This final week 12 video, I will cover one of the sample presentations. So under your module 5, under this initial box that describes your presentation and has your assignment sheet, there is a folder of 3 sample presentations. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to look at sample presentation number 2 because it has narration included. Sample presentation 1 is a very good presentation, but it does not have narration included because it was presented in class, not online. So let's go ahead and take a look at this particular presentation. Go ahead and pull it up. All right. So if we take a look at this, so I'm going to put it in slideshow mode. So you can see as the slide show opened up, there was a little bit of a slight fade, which is a transition, but it's a nice subtle transition. And what you notice about this presentation is the clean font on the gray background. And given what the title of the presentation, title of the topic, this particular visual is, while there's no pictures, it's still a very appealing, clean, well done title slide. And this is what your title slide, one way your title slide can look. There are so many different ways. You could put a picture, you could put graphics, but this is one way of doing it. And you notice in the lower left corner, there's the little sound box. So the student has narration embedded. All right, so we're going to move to the next slide. So you can see now, this is the hook slide. Now, this hook slide is got a couple of graphics, and you can see they are not frivolous graphics. They give information, and you can see below the graphics are the parenthetical references in APA format that show what sources these came from, with a fact on the top that is meant to hook the viewer, meant to get the viewer interested, and has continued with the same font, you notice, in the same background, so there's a coherence to this presentation. So we moved from that very clean title slide to this hook slide to grab our attention. And again, there's narration, and you'll hear it briefly as I click through. Okay. So this is the thesis slide. This student chose to have a title in the thesis slide that is in a question form. Instead of calling it thesis slide, this student gave it a name, Why Nuclear Power. And something like this can engage the viewer because it's a rhetorical question and gets the viewer thinking about this particular subject matter. And then underneath this title, this caption, Why Nuclear Power, is the thesis statement. And the 3 claims, the 3 points are in bigger font. So you'll see that each one of those phrases that's in larger font is covered in the main points and the counterpoints, the opposing viewpoint slide. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll click through that. Okay. Now, this is a definition slide, and as I said in the earlier video, you can have an additional slide or 2 that's either before or after your thesis slide. This student included a definition slide which educates the viewer and gives a nice visual, a nice graphic. And again, it's not a frivolous graphic. It's an explanatory graphic with, as you can see in the lower right corner, the parenthetical reference. So now we're moving into our main points slide. The first one deals with safety issue. And you notice it's a big map with nothing else on there's no bulleted text. So this student is going to give all the information in the verbal, in the narration. And here's the second main point slide. Is it worth the money? And again, notice the captions are they're very specific, and they are questions which gets the reader or the viewer engaged in the topic. And you notice that here we move from a graphic to a slide with text on it, which is a nice variation so that we're not all one or all the other. And the graphic is very clean, it's bulleted, and there are parenthetical references. Now, here is the opposing viewpoint that the student brings up. This is the question everybody worries about. What about waste? So the student addresses the negative aspects and does address it, but in the narration points out some information that counters the negative sides of it. Finally, it gives it the final point on the surrounding area. Again, this is another opposing viewpoint that the student brings up. You only have to bring up one opposing viewpoint, but you can bring up more than one. And this can actually make your argument stronger by suggesting that, yes, I know these are opposing viewpoints, but let me explain why my view is a stronger view. And the student has a good, solid graphic on this. With the final slide being the conclusion slide, and it's labeled conclusion with the main points and the opposing viewpoints bulleted out and addressed one more time to remind the viewer, oh yeah, this is what you learned from this PowerPoint. And then the last slide, we move into the reference slide, and you see there are quite a few references on this reference slide, and you'll need to include all of the references that you used for the text, which will probably be the same references that you had in your research paper, and then all of the references for your visuals, which will be new references. So it wouldn't be surprising if you have about 6 or 8 references on this. And you notice this student did try to get this into hanging indent, but I won't take off for not being hanging indent because that's difficult to do for with the PowerPoint slide. All right, there are 2 other slideshows you can go through. This one has narration and another one has narration, so you can listen to the student talk it out. Then there is one that's very good, but that has no narration, but it's still a very good PowerPoint slide and worth looking at. And finally, I wanted to show you on the bottom of your announcement for today, for Tuesday, I have the little my little mini lesson on finding your statistic-based database. So I have the instructions with the screenshots on how to go through and find the database called Statista. It's not the only database that has graphs and charts. Quite a few of them do, but this one specializes in that. So you can go ahead and start there and see what you can find. All right, give me an email if you need anything.